All right, we are officially live.
Woohoo!
I feel like we need some music. I got to get this music thing down.
Yeah, that's maybe like a little bit of elevator music.
Yeah, or like some dance music while we wait, while people start to come on, some Bruno Mars. uh, we have a question on here from the last time, and it says,
Okay.
I need to stop pleasing everyone and focus on what I have to do to be successful. How do I do it without feeling guilty? Yeah, that's the big no train.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
And saying no can be hard because you think you're going to upset people, you know, but you got to do it, right? Or else then you end up not, you only do a half the job, or you get tired and burnt out. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And
I
then,
have a big problem with that
then you get
myself.
mad at the person. Yeah,
Yeah,
then you get mad at
yeah,
them because they asked you when you were the one that said yes. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's 8 o'clock.
No one on yet.
Okay, no problem.
Although there's chatter about, so I think people are trying to get in.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like Alana, oh, here we go. We've got a couple people coming in. It looks like Alana Morris has joined us from Queensland, Australia. Welcome, Alana. So, Alana, we won't be able to hear you or see you, but you can absolutely add your questions into the box there where you registered, and we'll be able to see all your questions. And if you guys see me glancing over to the side, I have my question console open so I can see everyone that's coming in. So if you'll just let us know who you are and where you're viewing from, that would be great. Okay, we have Marlena from Midland, Ontario, Canada. So an international crowd already.
Right.
Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for being on time. Typically, we'll start maybe within 5 minutes of the start time of the webinar just to make sure that everybody gets their login kinks worked out and everybody can get settled in and the baby's quiet. And if you're in the U.S., you grab a glass of wine because it's in the evening. Hopefully, if you're in Australia, it's a chai tea or a coffee. But if it's wine at 11 a.m., more power to you. We plan on having a really good time tonight, so I'm really excited to have you all here. Marlena, why don't you let us know what business you're in while we wait, if that's okay? We have a couple other people that just joined us. If you want to let us know in the question box where you're viewing from and whether you have grabbed a glass of wine or a glass of coffee. Okay, we have Angela from Kingman, Arizona. Nice and warm. We've got Lisa from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Knee deep in snow, I'm sure. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. If you missed our early roll call, we have some folks from Queensland, Australia, and Ontario, Canada. So it looks like so far it's ladies' night in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get started here. The next couple of minutes, we're going to let a few other people join us and get their technical kinks worked out. Just a reminder, tonight works really well if your speakers are nice and loud, or if you have headphones in, of course a glass of your favorite beverage. Make sure all your other windows are closed down. You have no distractions, so we get full attention and you get the full value out of tonight's webinar. And after all, it's productivity night, right? So you shouldn't have 20 windows open. Let's not start off with a bad grade tonight. All right. Just going to bounce on over to the Facebook community here to make sure that no one has any problems getting in. If you're just joining us, if you'll kindly put into the chat box where you're viewing from and whether you have your choice glass of wine or cup of coffee with you for tonight. Shut down all your windows, silence your phone. Make sure we've got full attention tonight. It's productivity night, and we're excited to have you. So thanks so much for coming along. Christina, how's the weather over where you're at right now?
You know, it's good where I am. It's really quite warm, you know, short sleeves and kind of going outside in the sun. But you mentioned that someone had logged on from Queensland, and Queensland have been having some pretty bad flooding and cyclones at the moment. So, yeah, so it's good here, but I hope the lady that's joined us from Queensland has not suffered too much with all the cyclones. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Wow, is that typical to have that kind of impactful weather like that?
You know, I think, I mean, maybe someone would correct me if I'm wrong, but I reckon about once a year we tend to have, especially in the Queensland type of area, you know, a cyclone or something like that that comes along where it's at least really strong winds, people's houses are getting a little bit blown apart, and, you know, it's not trivial. I saw a picture the other day of someone's trampoline stuck in the electricity wires. So that's how strong the wind was, yeah.
Wow. So do you experience winter and snow as well, or no?
So where I am, which is Sydney, we get winter, but probably my version of winter would be, you know, you'd be fine. We don't get snow here. There are snowy areas, but they're very few and far between, really. So I guess the average temperature in winter, like the coldest it might get, maybe it gets to 0 Celsius at night time, but I can't convert that to Fahrenheit. Sorry, I don't know Fahrenheit off the top of my head. But, yeah, probably for you, it'd be like a walk in the park.
Yeah, because Florida...
Well, maybe not from Florida, but from a lot of U.S. people.
Yeah. Well, cool, good. All right, so we're going to get started here. We've got quite a few people on, so welcome, everyone. Tonight's complimentary webinar is on productivity and efficiency. So I am with my dear colleague, Christina Marie, who is stunning and smart and sharp and all the things we need in a productivity expert, right? So we're going to have some fun with this. It's not going to be all tech talk, I promise. It's going to be some real life practical stuff that we can implement into our calendars, into our to-do lists, and into our computers and laptops. So get out your notepad, take a sip of that favorite beverage, and we'll get rolling. So Christina Marie, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, I'm excited to be here. This is really cool.
Excellent. So, for those of you who don't know me and have logged on, thank you for being here once again. I am Liz Smoke, and I am a personal branding and online business consultant. So, if you're part of the community, I am deeply honored that you have been an active participant and that you've joined us tonight. And I hope that you really feel a lot of content, a lot of value. Please feel free to comment and ask questions. I'm fielding those right over here to my questions console. So let's get started with Christina Marie, and if you'll let us know who you are and how you became to be this productivity expert.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Liz. Firstly, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. So in terms of who I am, actually my day job, I started off as an IT project manager, so my degree is in business management and economics. And I've always, I guess, been a little bit of a nerd with a spreadsheet and a pencil and a paper and everything organized down to the, down to the last minute, I guess. So that's kind of the way I grew up. So in terms of my real life experience, I started off outside of uni working at the head office of one of the major banks here. I did that for 4 years, and then I went across to IBM. Everyone knows IBM, right? And I was there for 10 years as an IT project manager. Since I left IBM, I left there in 2010, and I've been working as a IT project manager, but in the gaming space and also in the government space. And out of that, created my own business where I call myself an efficiency expert. Basically, what I do is I help people become more organized and more efficient in their businesses through processes, procedures, systems, technology, all that stuff that's going to help you free up your own time so that you're not spending time doing stuff that you hate or stuff that you're not good at or stuff that's repetitive and that you could automate. So, yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, we know that, those big companies that you mentioned tend to get every ounce of productivity out of their people, right? I mean, in order to get these massive projects and initiatives out the door and on time, their teams have to be hitting on all cylinders. So you have been swinging two bats on the on deck in order to help us kind of figure out our daily productivity. So, when we think about productivity, we do think, well, wow, that does sound like big corporation, and that's not me. But I beg to differ, and I'm sure that you do too. So the hours pass in a day, and we sit there with 20, 25 windows open, and we have no idea where it's gone, what we've accomplished, etc. So how do we make productivity part of our daily life?
Okay, so productivity, you're right. People can think about it and think, okay, this is just stuff that multi-million-dollar corporations do with all these expensive systems. We don't know how to do that in our own one-man or two-man business or one-woman, two-woman business, whatever you want to say. But that's actually, that's a misnomer. Productivity is really about setting yourself up for success right from day one. So if I can use myself as an example when I was setting up my own business, what I did, the real thing to think about is scalability. It's how do I set this up so that I'm acting as if I have 55 clients or 55,000 clients, not just one or two. How would I set this up so that I can grow from one or two all the way through to 55,000 without having to do a great big overhaul? Let's set ourselves up for success right from the beginning. So, I mean, we can talk about doing that in a systems type of way. We can talk about it doing that in a time management type of way. What would you like to focus on, Liz?
Let's start off with time management. So let's say we're solopreneurs. We probably work out of our home or mobile in some way, and we have calls to make, follow up, follow through. Those calls turn into action items, and the day gets swallowed up. So what are some good key habits to insert into our daily lives to keep on track and keep the goals moving forward?
Absolutely. Okay. So one of the things that's really, really important is a to-do list. And people might sit there and say, well, that sounds really boring. I don't want to write everything down. But guess what? You feel so much more at ease when you get everything out of your head and it's on paper or on the computer, right? And one thing I will say when I'm talking about paper versus computer, everything doesn't have to be online. You don't, if you're not someone that wants to type everything up into the latest and greatest app, you don't have to. A to-do list on a piece of paper or in a manual diary is just as good as one that's online, as long as you keep it up to date, because it's there for a purpose. So it's not how you do it, it's what you do with it, right? So what I would normally do is I create my to-do list the night before, right? So say here it's Monday morning, so I would create today's to-do list on Sunday night, okay? So I have a running list, and then when I get up on Monday morning, what I'll do is I'll look at my email and other urgent things that might have come in for me to do straight away, and I'll add them to the list. And it's really important not only just to have the list, but to also indicate how urgent it is and how important it is, because maybe there's something you want to put on the list so you don't forget it, but you can put it off for a week or two. Maybe there's something else you've got to put on the list because you need to do it today. So when you're writing up your list, I personally have the column with what I have to do, and then I also have a column for how important it is and how urgent it is. And you can also add another column for how long you think it might take. And I find that column of how long you think it might take is actually really good for your mind when you think, oh my God, I've got 1,000 things on the list. How am I ever going to get through these? When you look at it and you realize that, 900 of the 1,000 are just 5-minute tasks, they're not 1 hour tasks, they're not 1 week tasks, you can really start to get a picture of what you need to do and how much time it's going to take you to do it. When you understand that, you can then start slotting it into your day. Okay, these are the ones I'll do today, these are the ones I'll do tomorrow. And then once you get that list going, it's almost like a running list. Like I like to call it a living document. It's not a stagnant thing. So once you've created that from day one, you can literally just keep using that continual list, all the way through ad infinitum, just ticking things off. And it feels so good when you put a big check mark next to something that you've done. Sometimes I'm a bit nerdy. I like writing things on the list when I've already done them, just so I can put the check mark next to it, because it's like, woohoo, I did that.
Totally. One thing I want to interject, as you talk about writing down the important things higher on the list, sometimes it's difficult to identify, heck, what is important? How do I even prioritize this stuff? And something that I tell everybody, and I use myself, priority is what is closest to the dollar. So I know as an entrepreneur, one of our 17 hats is sales director, right? Sales manager. So priority becomes what is closest to the dollar, or closest to the sale. Because when you're making money and you're closing deals, your energy is high, you're motivated to finish the other stuff that's not so fun on your to-do list. So if you could only complete 1 or 2 things today, you better make sure that it's close to the dollar.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. So, one of the things I do, and this is going to sound ultra nerdy, but I'll mention it anyway. It's called the Eisenhower Delegation Matrix, and you can use it for delegation, but you can also just use it for yourself personally. And what it does is for each task, you ask yourself 2 questions. You say, is it important and is it urgent? And what you're saying about importance is the stuff that's close to the dollar. That is 100% true. Now, when you write up this matrix, and I've got a free blog post on my blog if anyone's interested in actually reading about this, but what it actually does is the answers to those 2 questions for each task, is it important and is it urgent, will let you know whether you should do it yourself and whether you should do it now, whether you should do it yourself but you delay it, whether you delegate it to someone else, or the 4th option, whether it's not even worth doing in the first place. If something's on the list and it comes up as being not urgent and not important, then why are you doing it, right? So that way, when you do this, and when your business is, for example, at a point where you might have a virtual assistant coming on board, or a marketing assistant, or someone that's helping you with your website or whatever, it's a really good way of going through and working out what you should be doing yourself, because it takes your own special skills and qualities to do, versus what you can get someone else to do and when they should be doing it.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And, you know, productivity is also something that needs to be discussed within the family, because since most of us are probably working from our home, and I know I suffer from this 100%, Monday morning comes around and my honey calls me first thing in the morning and says, hey, I need you to do this, that, and the other thing. And they're all personal things that could have been done on the weekend, but he feels supercharged. He's not an entrepreneur. He works outside. So his Monday is to do everything. My Monday is focused on my business and not necessarily my household to-dos. So it's really kind of setting those boundaries that you're doing your housework to-dos on the weekend and your business during the week.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, how do I say this? You probably don't want to organize your life down to the last millisecond where it takes all the joy out of life, so to speak. And I know I have a tendency to do that because I love schedules and calendars and color coding and all that type of stuff. But what you can do is, if you look at your calendar, you work out, you know, time slots of when you're available to do particular things. And one of the things I am actually a real advocate for is putting your own personal things into your calendar as a priority, as well as your business things. So go into your calendar and put in, you know, a 2-hour slot or a 3-hour slot on a Sunday afternoon for when you're going to hang out with your kids or go to the movies or whatever. Put in an hour every morning for going to the gym or for making up your meals for the day, or whatever the case may be. And that way, that's the type of thing you can share with your family without trying to be Miss Boring and go, well, this isn't on the schedule. You're not going to do that. But what you're kind of going to say is, listen, I set aside 3 hours on a Sunday for us to do all that boring stuff where we've got to go to the hardware shop and where we've got to clean the house and all that type of stuff. Once you say that 2 or 3 times and he sees how you've got your day set out, then, you know, it really starts working in. You can work out how to fit it in with his schedule as well. You know, it's a fluid thing, and it's just collaborative, but it's not being so boring that every minute of the day is scheduled, but it's kind of just saying, how do I fit all this in and still have a life and still have fun, but still achieve what I'm here to do.
So what are the big time sucks? You know, what are the things that we're doing that's really hurting our productivity?
Okay. Now, personally for me, it is Facebook and email, right? Okay, so my number one thing is switch off those notifications. Switch off the notifications that are going to pop up on your computer every 25 seconds until you've got a new email or you've got a new Facebook message. You know, it's distractions, and I don't want to sound like a grandma and say back in the day before computers, because I'm not going to say that, but you know, before everyone was on Facebook and before everyone got emails just about everything under the sun, you pretty much had the ability to focus on something for an hour or two without getting distracted, and I think now we find that really difficult. So one of the things I do, and again, this might sound pretty nerdy, but I'm going to explain it anyway, is it's a technique called the Pomodoro Technique. And you can Google that, and even you can find it online. And basically what that means is you set aside, I'm really sorry if you hear background noise behind me, there is a train going past. So I'm sorry if that's kind of going over the top of me talking. So the Pomodoro Technique is basically a technique where for 25 minutes you focus on a particular task. So let's say I've got a proposal I want to write. What I do is I switch off my notifications, I switch off my phone, or I take it out of the room. I don't answer the doorbell, I don't answer Facebook messages, I don't answer the phone, I don't take SMSs, I don't do anything except for focus on this task for 25 minutes. And that's what I say to myself. I've got 25 minutes of 100% focus on this, and then I can have a 5-minute break. And as I say, there's a little website for it where it just sets up like a little buzzer that goes off after the 25 minutes. And I'm telling you that 25 minutes of focusing on something and removing all distractions is probably the equivalent of, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours of sitting around, half doing your work and half getting distracted and half wandering to the kitchen and answering the phone and all that type of stuff. So that's one of the things I do, especially when we're talking about our to-do lists earlier. When my to-do list is massive, I just sit there and say, well, I'm going to do like 4 lots of Pomodoros. So I'll do 25 minutes flat out on something, then I'll take a 5-minute break, and 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. And honestly, I can get more done in that time than I do in half to 3/4 of a day. So that is something I really work with my clients to do, is to just get rid of those notifications. So only 25 minutes. You can live without Facebook for 25 minutes, and then you can have a 5-minute break and go and look at it, go and wander around, replenish your water or your wine or your coffee or whatever, and then come back and do it again. But that's how you can get the most out of your time and remove those distractions and really focus on what you need to do so you get it done.
Yeah, what works for me, and I've implemented this just recently, so maybe a month or so ago, I am a huge multitasker, and it's really been my demise. It's not a good thing, by the way. Like, multitasking is dead. It's horrible. And I try to do, and I'm the one with 20 different windows, answering an email, putting a post, doing a graphic, you know, taking a call, and I'm trying to do a little bit of 10 different things. And by the end of the day, I've either half-assed them or I've not completed them. So I've completely scrapped that model, and it's hard because my entire life has been that way. I will shut everything down and say one complete project at a time. Because what happens when you're multitasking is during the multitasking process, another project jumps in, another to-do jumps in, and now your unfinished projects, it keeps growing and growing. Rather than saying, I'm going to, like she said, allot the 25 minutes and complete one entire project. Or do something that passes it along to the next person, your web designer or your coach or your teammate. And once you can get into that frame of mind of, I'm only going to look at and do one thing right now, finish it, close it, on to the next one. It really changes the dynamic of your day. So what are some of the tools that you use and that you recommend in keeping order to our day?
Okay, so, oh dear. So for me, my to-do list, I'm a bit weird because I seem to alternate between having it in a diary because I love writing things down versus doing it online. So I guess that the moral behind that is find something that really works for you. And if alternating between the two, using a written to-do list for a few months works, and then you think, oh, I'll just do it online for a little while now, that's fine too. Okay, so when you do it online, there is a free app, and it's called Tick Tick, and I love it. It's just a very simple to-do list type of app, and you can type everything in, you can check them off, and you can also assign tasks to other people. So say if on a list to do something, I just type it up and then add in her email address, and assuming she has the same app, it'll give her a notification saying, hey, you should do this as well. So that's my thing for to-do lists. Now, in terms of my notes, I'm the biggest fan of Evernote. Now, some people know what Evernote is, other people don't. Basically, what Evernote is it is this application where you basically take down all your notes about everything, and you can have it on your computer, on your iPad, on your Android tablet, on your phone, on everything. So I can be sitting here at my home computer and type up 2 or 3 things into Evernote, then walk out of the room carrying my phone, and I'll be able to access it on my phone as well. So if anyone's interested in Evernote, I have a free 10-part video course on my website where I literally just sit with you just from, ground zero, so to speak, and we work through it from scratch. It explains how it works, what to do, what all the tricks are. The bottom line is, like, let me use an example. I used to have, you know, bookmarks in my work computer, bookmarks in my home computer for all these different things I wanted to look at online. And then I'd remember I'd bookmark something and I'd say, bloody hell, which computer did I bookmark it on? Because I can't find it here. So I put all that stuff into Evernote. I put all my business stuff into Evernote. So for me, I still work my day job as well as running my business, and I commute 3 hours a day. So what I do during my commute is I actually type up a lot of my business stuff, my blog posts, my ideas for my courses, all that stuff, type it up in Evernote just on my iPad. And then by the time I get to work, it's sitting there on my work computer. I get home, it's sitting here, and I can just access it whenever I want. So that's a really big tool for me. So keeping your notes together and keeping your to-dos together are two really big things. Then once you start working with a team, as I said, with TickTick, you can delegate to other people. If you're more of a visual person, there is a tool called Trillo. Again, that's free. You can get a premium version at a cost, but even the free version is perfectly good. And what it does is it allows you to see visually all your projects, and you can list your tasks in there. You can drag them across from, you know, to do into done, all that type of stuff. It's almost like a project management system online. So there are a few of my tools, but the thing I really like to say about tools is don't fall for the latest fads. I see people all the time saying, oh, the latest thing I heard about is such and such an app. I better get that. Don't do that. What you need to do is you need to sit down and look at what your requirements are first. What do I want from my to-do list? Okay, I want to be able to check things off. I want to be able to assign things to other people. I want to be able to enter time frames, and I want to be able to enter importance and urgency. You know, they're my requirements. Then what I do is I look at the potential apps and I say, which one meets my requirements? Whereas a lot of people do it the other way around. They say, oh, there's this app called Basecamp. Everyone's using Basecamp. Oh, I better go get it. It's completely the wrong way to do things. So there are a few examples of what I use, but the really important thing is work out what you want first before you go and look at what you might adopt. Don't just go for the latest and greatest fad, because you'll get overwhelmed and you'll say, well, this is crap anyway. It's not doing what I wanted to do. So,
because oftentimes we can adopt technology and applications, and it actually costs us more time to use that app than to use kind of a tried and true tool. I'm with you. You know, I've got a paper diary as well. In fact, my diary, I'll grab it here in a second. It's already it's vertical and linear. And I bought it at the local office supply store, and it's divided by AM and PM because my to-dos are all over the place. But at least I know, like, my AM is when I'm freshest. So that's another thing that you'll notice a lot of executives don't make decisions in the PM because science is a factor, right? Our brains at that end of the day are not as sharp and strategic in nature in the afternoon. So that's why they say start with the hard stuff first, because you are sharpest, you are more strategic, and you can think more clearly through a decision earlier in the day. So, you know, if somebody comes to you with some earth-shattering news in the afternoon, sleep on it. Don't let your exhaustion or even just a tired mind get in the way. So when in my AM and PM blocks, I put the hard stuff, decision-making items in the AM, and then kind of my no-brainer stuff, you know, all my Facebook updates, all that stuff, in the afternoon when it doesn't really require a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
I also use my notepad in my phone because obviously that's in my back pocket all the time. So once an idea comes into mind, I tell Siri, by the way, if you have an iPhone, you can tell Siri your to-do list, and she'll make it for you, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of my growing list that I've got everywhere. So having a couple things is not a bad thing as long as it's working for you and you're staying organized.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Great. So what other tips, and please feel free to put into the chat roll any problems that you're having throughout your day or any advice that you would like. We have a couple other folks joining us from Perth, Australia. So welcome. And okay, so it looks like there's nothing new here. So please put into the chat roll any questions that you might have for Christina or myself. Tell us about what it takes to, say, launch a project. So whether you have a course or a website or something that's pretty major, that's got a lot of moving parts to it, how best would you say that we can wrangle all the pieces together into kind of one central spot, getting everybody on the same page and moving forward?
Okay. So the real art with running a project, I look at it the same way that I look at my IT projects that I run in my day job, because they're $1 million projects, okay? So I look at a $1 million project in the same way I look at setting up my e-course, because it's the same principles. So the principles are always understand exactly what it is that you want to achieve, okay? So have your, I guess we could call it requirements if you want to speak IT, have your requirements firmly in your head. Okay, I want to create an e-course. I want it to be about efficiency and productivity for small business owners. I want it to be 8 weeks, and I want it to cover A, B, C, and D. Right, so that is my high-level requirement. Then what I do, you can do it out on a massive piece of butcher's paper, you can do it on a spreadsheet, you can do it anywhere. But you then start breaking that down into the next bite-sized type of chunk, okay? So that was the whole requirement. Okay, so then what I need to do is I need to get my content ready. I need to get my graphics ready. I need to get my social media ready. I need to have technology to be able to deliver the course. I need to set up my newsletter to be able to send out the course. So suddenly I've got this course, but I've also got tech, social media, blah, 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 and all these different elements that I need to set up in order to run the course. So, you know, you started with this big requirement, then you've set down, okay, these are all the avenues I need to set up in order to meet that requirement. And then once you've got that down, you then just chunk it down a little bit further. Okay, in order to set up my social media, I need to think about emails, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay, in order to set up my content, I need to create PDFs, create slides, and create videos. You know, so just, you're starting with the big picture, and you're breaking down the picture line to almost become a line-by-line project plan, okay? And that's essentially what you're going to end up with, is a project plan. Once you have that list of tasks, then you need to start thinking about prerequisites, is what we call them in IT speak. Okay, I can't send out the course until I've set up my my website and I've set up my my MailChimp. You know, you've got to work out what's got to come before the next thing. So then you have not only your list of what needs to be done, but the order in which it needs to be done. And then you can start adding down some time frames. Okay, setting up the social media might take me 2 days. Setting up my membership site will take me 3 hours. You know, so all of a sudden you've gone from this high-level requirement down to a complete list of every task that needs to be done, how long the tasks are going to take, and the order in which you need to do them. And then you start getting this really good picture of exactly what you need to do and when. And that's the same if you're setting up your first e-course that 5 people are going to take up versus if I'm running a multi-million-dollar project for IBM. It's exactly the same process. So you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up as if you are a big entity right from the start so that everything is scalable for you in the future as you grow.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, because I use the exact same system that she just described, but I do it visually. And this is what that looks like. Everything that she just said becomes a picture. And by the way, I am a whiteboard note-taking maniac. So what I have done, much to my honey's chagrin, is the whole back of my house is sliding glass doors. So I take my whiteboard markers and go to my sliding glass doors, and it is just like Disneyland for me. But what I do is I start with whatever the project is in the middle. So let's say I'm launching a website, right? So it's my brand website. It's got a big circle around it. Now I start to shoot off in all kinds of directions, like she said. So there's the social media strategy. There's a marketing strategy. There's content development. There's, whatever your project is, an affiliate program, who's going to help you sell your programs, whether you need photography, all of the arms that belong to launching a website or recruiting a new team member or a new few people on your team. Everything that's related to making that happen are now bubbles that shoot off of that center bubble. And what that's called is called a mind map. So then those smaller bubbles, like she says, you're chunking them down. So let's say the middle is launch your website. Then your offshoot is social media strategy. Well, under social media strategy, you've got graphics, content, and ads, right? So those are 3 other offshoots. Well, maybe you're no good at graphics and ads. So now you need to go onto Elance or Fiverr and find yourself a graphic artist. So you see how they become smaller and smaller little bubbles that become way more manageable than one giant list that you have no idea where to start. So yeah, it's a fun process.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we have something peculiar here. Leanne says, I need to stop pleasing everyone and focus on what I have to do to be successful. How do I do it without feeling guilty? So this is what we call, the seasoned entrepreneurs call the no train, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens in our day is when, especially since we're working from home, our family thinks we're playing, right? And surely we have time for everything. We have time for people to drop by without unannounced or to run favors, all kinds of stuff, right? Which we know is not the case. But how do we handle those people when they call us? So has that happened to you, Christina?
Absolutely. And, I think in my heart, I am this people-pleasing person. I want everyone to be happy. I want to do everything everyone wants me to do. I don't want anyone to be upset with me or unhappy or pissed off, for want of a better word. So, I found it really hard to get on the no train, but you have to do it. So what you need to be able to do is kind of look inside and just ask yourself straight away, as soon as you hear the request, what's your instinct telling you? Do you have time to do this? Do you want to do this? Are you going to be really annoyed if you agree to do it and then you go off and think, how in God's name am I going to get this done? So what I do is I listen to my instinct, and if my instinct says I really don't want to do this, sometimes I'll answer straight away. Sometimes I'll let it fester a little bit, and I'll say, listen, I'll get back to you in an hour or so when I look at my diary. That's always a good excuse, in inverted commas. I need to look at my diary, okay, because maybe you don't want to make a big snap decision, or maybe you don't want to look like a cow by just saying no, right? You don't want to just say that straight away either. So I go off, I'll think about it. More often than not, it'll be exactly the same as what my instinct told me anyway. And what you've got to learn how to do is to say no elegantly, as they say. You don't want to sound like you're being rude, but you also want to let people know very clearly what your boundaries are and what you can do and what you can't do. So it's okay just to say, listen, no, I'm not going to be able to have the time to do that today because I've got a few other things on, okay? One of the traps I used to fall into when I tried to get on the no train is I would explain my entire life to everyone. And I find myself over-explaining. Oh, I can't do it because I've got to do A and then B and then C. And if I didn't have to do C, then I would have done it for you. But, just don't do that because it just ends up being a nightmare. And you know what? You feel like you have to do it because you feel like you've got to justify why you're saying no, but you actually don't. Just think of when other people say no to you. You don't expect them to tell you their life story. It's okay for them to say, I'd love to help, but I really don't have the time today. Sorry, how about if next time you give me like a week's notice, I should be able to slot it in. Is that okay? And you just leave it at that. So that's the way I do it. How do you do it, Liz?
Well, So often, especially since many of us here on this webinar are going down the road to become a coach or a consultant, your time is your commodity. Your time is your product. So if you give it away, you only have so much to capitalize on. You only have so many hours to sell, bluntly put, right? So you have to manage those hours as a CEO would. Remember back when you had a job. Remember back when you wanted an appointment with somebody important. And it wasn't that you were not important. It was their time was finite. So all of the frivolous stuff that didn't have a priority listed with it got pushed to the back burner or pushed to an assistant or the weekend or whatever. And you have got to treat your business and your time in the same way. This goes for, by the way, charging cheaply for your time because you only have so much of it. If you lose your money, you can make it back. If you lose your time, it's gone forever. So if your neighbor is wanting you to pick up their kid because they're stuck at the nail salon, you need to call somebody else, because Monday through Friday, I'm at work just like everybody else is, even if I'm in my fuzzy slippers. I'm still. So, it's been hard. I, like Christina, and I think many women suffer from this too, want to please and feel the guilt of I'm not as valuable because I don't have a 9-to-5 job, and that's absolutely incorrect. You are absolutely worthy of protecting your time, and you are absolutely just as valuable as anyone else who's going to work and coming home in the afternoon. So it's definitely going to be worth your while to begin to cut away the fat of the things that you're doing. Hey, even if it's for your husbands, ladies, you need to start protecting the time so that you can maximize the money and the profit that you're bringing in to your home, to your family, and to your business. So I promise you, it's going to sting, but I love what Christina said. Let me check my calendar, because already you're putting the expectation that I have things to do. My day is planned. I don't just arbitrarily pick things out of the air to go do, and I like to keep an orderly pace to my day. So once you put up that parameter for yourself, people will begin to respect your time as you do. So educate people on how to treat your time. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Great. So what other nuggets do you have up your sleeve? Let's do a time check. It's 8:50. How about before we go into that, let's just kind of recap some of the tips and tools that you talked about. I know some of your favorites were Evernote, but if you can, for those of us who are jotting it down, kind of list out the apps that you mentioned.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I spoke about when we were talking about to-do lists is work out what type of person you are, if you're a paper person or an online person. And it's okay to have your to-do list anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of paper or online. If it is online, I do like an app called TickTick. It's free and it's easy to use, and you can collaborate with others. Once you start setting up your projects, there's an app that I like called Trillo. Again, it's free, though there is a premium version if you want to invest in that. And it helps you set up all those tasks, like Liz was talking through with the mind map, and like I was talking through, helps you put all that into something that's actually really good for visual type of people, because you can just see everything right in front of you. So the way Liz was describing her mind maps and her whiteboard marker, that's really, really visual. The way I was describing it, writing everything down and chunking it down into lists of tasks that may end up in a spreadsheet, that's for the people who prefer lists over visuals. People prefer either way. So you can do it either way. You can even find mind mapping software like Liz was talking about. So if you feel like you're a visual person but you want it to be online, then you can throw it into some mind mapping software, or you can use your back glass doors type of thing. The other things I spoke about is going through the Eisenhower matrix when you're writing out your to-do list and working out what you should do and when you should do it. and also Pomodoro. I think the address is maybe tomatotimer.com or something like that. It's very easy to find, and it just sets off a little ding at 25 minutes and then sets off another ding after your 5-minute break, and it's completely invaluable. And so far, I think everything that I mentioned there basically has a free version, so you're not going out and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the latest and greatest software to be able to get organized and efficient. You just don't need to do it.
Great. So before we move too far past the Pomodoro, I am on a Mac laptop. I'm not sure if PCs do this. It's possible that they do. I have my computer set to tell me the time at every hour. I'm the kind of intense worker that I can work 14 hours straight. The sun can go up and down several times. I have not eaten. My kid is probably standing outside in the rain waiting for me to pick her up, and I have lost all track of time. So my computer telling me at every hour what time it is keeps me checked in to the present moment, and I know, okay, well, in an hour I need to be somewhere, so I need to get this done. So that's also a nice tickler, which is similar to the tomatotimer.com, which is what she was saying. So
yeah.
Now to describe the virtual whiteboard or the virtual binder, which we all love, of Evernote. Tell us about those top points again.
So Evernote is basically a repository where you can keep all information about anything, really. As I say, I type up my blog posts in Evernote. I put my course outlines in Evernote. It's got a brilliant thing called a web clipper. So say, for example, you're on a web page and you think, oh my God, I just want to keep this page. You literally, as long as you've added the plug into your browser, you literally click one button and it says, okay, I've just downloaded this page to Evernote for you. So you don't even need to copy and paste or anything like that. It's just, right, that page is now in my Evernote. You can email to Evernote. So say, for example, you've got an email sitting in your inbox and you think, I need to action that. Instead of typing the whole thing up again or copying and pasting, you can literally just send it to a particular email address, because Evernote gives you your own personalized email address. You know, it might end up being christinamarie@evernote.com or whatever the case may be. I can just forward an email to that, and automatically that email appears in my Evernote. So what you'll find is you'll have all these different files and folders, you know, course outline. Maybe even you might put your to-dos in Evernote. That's fine to put them there. Course outline, favorite websites, you know, health information, recipes, whatever you want to do. It can literally be like carrying around 15 different notebooks or 50 different notebooks where you had one for each subject. It's like carrying that around on your phone or on your iPad and having it available to you everywhere on all the different PCs or tablets or phones that you use.
I love that. I love that. And I actually took Christina's free course on how to use Evernote when I began to use it. So it kind of really takes you through a crash course of all of its features and how you should be using it within your day. So you can find that on christinamarie.com. It's complimentary, and it's 10 videos. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So I also want to circle back when you're doing your to-do lists. To me, Sunday is a huge planning day. My week does not start on Monday. My week starts on Sunday. And Sunday is my planning day for the entire week. I set myself up emotionally, tactically, and strategically on Sundays with everything I want to get done the entire week. I'm not trying to figure it out on Monday morning when I've got stuff to do, right? So again, your top to-dos are closest to the dollar, are revenue-generating actions, and then the rest falls behind it. And so that's pretty important. One thing that I do want to mention that probably no one knows on this call, well, I think I alluded to it in one of my emails this evening, is Christina Marie is actually going to be an adjunct professor in Be the Brand Academy. So she will have a module on productivity and efficiency for your business where she will actually take you through her area of the course with a worksheet that helps you with all the tips and resources and everything you need to set up your business the right way from the moment you hang your shingle out there. Christina, can you give us a little sneak into your teaching style?
Absolutely. So I try to cater for all different types of people. I would normally have a video as well as perhaps a worksheet so that you can listen, you can watch, and you can write as you go, and that tends to cater for everyone's different type of learning styles. What I'm going to cover in there is a lot of the stuff we've talked about, but I'm going to cover it in more detail, so I'm almost walking you through it step by step. So let's say you've just started your business yesterday. I'm going to pretend like, okay, you've just started it yesterday, and here's how to set it up right from day one to be as productive and efficient as you can be, right from day one, as I say. Because what I find, certainly with my own clients, is here's what's happened. Here's what they do. They start as being a one-person band, so to speak. They do everything on their own. They don't automate anything. They don't document anything. They just go along and they know how to do things. And then one day, their business takes off. They get so busy and they think, holy cow, I can't do all this stuff. And now I'm so busy running around and doing admin and doing all these crap things that I haven't got time to do this close to the dollar work because I'm too busy, you know, scheduling calls or doing like administrative type of tasks. So what I will do is I will go through and basically say, here's how to set you up as if you're already at that busy stage right from day one, so that you never actually get to that point where you think, oh, now I can't do everything. You actually just get to sit back and say, bloody hell, I'm glad I automated these tasks, because now instead of doing these 10 same repetitive tasks every time someone signs up with me, I've got the entire thing automated. I can just sit back and twiddle my thumbs until they book their appointment with me and I'm ready to talk to them. Everything else is automated. So I show you how to set that up right from day one.
Excellent. That's huge, because I didn't have that. Many entrepreneurs don't have that luxury. We spend our business development time figuring out how to do a business. And so having that right inside the course is going to be super. I can't wait to see what you've got in store for us.
Right.
One more productivity hack where it's not necessarily time management, but a big portion of our day being social media. Please go out and research Hootsuite.com. I'm sure you've heard of it. You probably haven't tried it because it seems like Oz behind the curtain, much like what we're talking about today. It will save you an incredible amount of time, especially if you're using multiple platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Google+, etc., which, by the way, you should be in order to help your search engine rankings, right, and to help people find you. But if you're going around and spending hours figuring out what content to post, creating graphics around it, and then actually posting it across 4 or 5 platforms, honey, you're not in the social media business. That is not the end-all for your business. It's a method of communication which also needs to be tamed along with everything else in your day. So please check out Hootsuite.com, H-O-O-T like an owl, suite like a bedroom suite.com, and it has a free version. I happen to use the paid version because I also use it to manage my clients' social media strategies as well. So I can manage multiple clients on one platform. And if it's not free, it's like $15 a month. But it's a lifesaver. It's a time saver.
9 o'clock.
You heard that? You heard my computer say it's 9 o'clock? You see, if I didn't have that, I'd be talking to you guys till midnight, and you'd be ready to shoot me, right? So if there are no further questions, I do want to say that Be the Brand Academy registration does close on March the 2nd. That's a Monday. And if you would like to register, I believe I put the phone number here in the notes, but it's 305-394-5950. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, email, wherever you typically engage with me, and register that way as well. I want to thank you, Christina Marie. I am so honored that you have given us your well-planned time.
Thank you. I was so excited to do this. It's great.
Excellent. So you all in Australia have a fabulous rest of your day. I'm just going to check the question console one more time. I will be heading off to Dreamland, which is where my to-dos take place, right? Okay, and it seems like we should be, let's see. Alana says, thank you. That was amazing. No, thank you for being here and taking the time to learn from us. So thank you, everyone who was here. Thank you again, Christina Marie. You can find her at ChristinaMarie.com, and that's Christina in the conventional way with a CH, and Marie with an MAREE.com, and look at her fabulous pictures. And her Evernote and her courses are all there, so please become a fan like I am, and have a spectacularly productive rest of your week.
Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome, everyone. Have a good evening. Thanks so much for being a part of the webinar.